Hello.
My brother, can you hear me?
See you. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Sounds good. What's going on,
Yeah.
Cameron?
It's good to finally get you on here as well.
I know. It's been a little bit. It's
Yeah.
been we've been talking about it for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. How about you introduce yourself as first off, so everyone knows who you are.
Um, okay. My name is Joseph Octaviani. I am a Puerto Rican man, a father, holistic guide, and an educator for herbs and healing of the body. I started my journey 4 years ago when I was healing myself um, through my problems and felt comfortable enough to help my friends, my close family, and then moved it up a notch to now helping anybody in the world.
How did you get into it back then?
Um,
First.
well, growing up, I had the diet that most uh, Puerto Rican men have,
Mm.
and that was all the meat that you can possibly think of, um, all the seasonings, all the rice and the beans and all that, and the dairy especially. And so it took a toll on me. It took a toll on me. I really felt it when I'm 26 right now. I really felt it when I was about 17. That's when things started to go downhill. I started to notice my body feeling different, little pains and aches. When I hit 18, I had a hernia, and it was a very random moment on how it popped out. It was I was just laughing extremely hard, and I got a hernia. Most people have hernias during lifting and
Mm.
or sports and stuff like that, and I did that for years and I never had it. And so I felt that my body was just so weakened at that point that anything could just, make it snap. So I got that hernia when I was 18 and I brushed it to the side for what, 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And it caught up to me when I was around 21. I landed in a hospital, 22. I landed in a hospital from that hernia. A sack of fluid had came out of that hernia, the size of a water bottle, they say. And I had lived with it for so long until the point where I just passed out. And when I was on the hospital bed, they didn't know what it was. I was just in fear. They thought it was cancer, this and that. And so it kind of led me to healing myself because they didn't know what was wrong. So I was determined on figuring out what was wrong. I realized that their level of thinking now knowing what I know now, their level of thinking, they were just looking at the wrong things. Um, they were trying to blame something. They were finding something to blame when in reality, they never looked at me. They never asked me about my actions. They never asked me what I ate, what I drank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and the moment that I realized that Western medicine really could not heal anything was when I was constipated on that hospital bed for about 4 or 5 days. And it was the most, it was so painful. It was not even funny. They were just throwing drugs, and nothing helped. And at one moment, I told myself, wait, I'm lactose intolerant. Go and run and get some milk. So I sent the lady for some milk, chugged it, 5 minutes, constipated, constipation relief. At that moment, I was like, wait, I'm going to have to take my life in my own hands because they're not doing it right. So when I was on the hospital bed, I was there for about 2.5 weeks. I just researched everything I could, and I found Dr. Sabi.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Um, yeah, Dr. Sabi, I feel like is the one that sparks the change in
Mm.
many people nowadays. And although I don't necessarily follow all his philosophies, he was the one that got me to understand that healing is deeper than a pill. Healing is deeper than treatment. We have to go to nature. And that was the moment where I really shifted my entire life. Really, I put away photography. I put away uh, everything at that moment to dedicate myself to healing myself and then others.
So that's quite an interesting thing as well. When you say healing yourself, you say you don't follow his philosophy, but in a sense, when you say you have to take it into your own hands to heal yourself, that also is mentally as well. So taking on your own philosophy is what you should do, surely, because it is healing yourself. like you say, as you say, mentally, spiritually, physically, taking
Yeah.
on your own philosophy, taking on someone else's philosophy, that's not healing yourself necessarily. Spiritually, you need to believe what you're, in
Mm,
yourself and your own beliefs, right?
100%, 100%. I'm glad you said that. 100%.
Yeah.
Um, when the thing that sparked it in me, with Dr. Sebi was this one thing that he said, and it was acid gut equals an acid mind.
Mm.
When he said that, that's when I realized there was way deeper healing that I needed to do,
Mm.
beyond just eating fruits and veggies. There was an emotional aspect to healing I did not understand, and then the mental aspect and the spiritual aspect. So when he said that, he kind of pushed me on that journey to looking within, and going on that journey, which is the hardest part of the journey. I tell people the simplest part is eat this, eat that. Don't eat this, don't eat that.
Mm.
Super simple. The hard part is the emotional and the mental behind it. Are you actually going to do it? The discipline, all these different types of things that come along with that.
That's reprogramming, isn't it? You're having to reprogram your mind into new disciplines. Of course, that's going to be the hardest
Oh
bit.
yeah, for generations. I
Of
mean,
course.
imagine you're being told something for generations. It is so
Mm.
embedded in the psyche that getting it out is a painful experience.
Mm.
It really is. It really is.
I mean, you're obviously impacted by stuff that you're told to do when you're growing up, and everyone's told to do these things when they're growing up. So when you're on your own, it feels like you're almost stepping into a foreign world when you try and change all these different things. It is, it
Mhm.
is, it is definitely the hardest bit by a mile.
Because you're the only it's a lonely journey. You can have
Yeah.
people around you, people helping you, talking to you, but in reality, it's you. I always tell people it's you versus you. It's not you versus the world. And
So that's
so this
one
is a
thing.
very lonely very lonely journey.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing that's an interesting point as well. Is people, that's one thing people would struggle with, because a lot of people these days wouldn't accept this sort of thing. So if you have it, usually family, like I myself, different people, family members will obviously say stuff, or people say stuff, and it's hard to get people to support that things. Like you say, it's a lonely journey. That does make sense in a way, because obviously not many people understand these things. It's like you were saying about caffeine as well. I know lots of athletes like that I know closely. Everybody has caffeine. Every single person I know has caffeine. It's like the building
Yeah.
block of athletics.
The caffeine and the protein. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And what I preach is like the complete opposite of what we've been
yeah.
told. And what makes it even harder is that it's not just your family saying it. These are the so-called experts, the
Mm,
professionals, the ones we're supposed to leave it up to. You know how you say, follow your own philosophies. We don't. A lot of people don't. A lot of people take the word from the professionals and the scientists and all that as like Bible, as God
mm,
saying it themselves. Like they can't be challenged at all. And so that is makes it even harder. um, but I always tell people what feels right to you. You do it yourself.
mm.
Like whenever you would ask me, oh, what about this herb? What about this herb? I'm like, go try it yourself.
And
Don't
your
take
body
my
doesn't
word for it.
lie.
Your body does not lie. You listen to
Yeah.
your body over me. You know, if you are skeptical of whether that heals you, go try it, see if it does. Most of
Mm,
the time, it is.
mm,
And so with the caffeine, I tell people, why do you feel that you need it? Not that you just want it. Why do you feel the need for it? That's the
mm,
problem. I'm not just attacking caffeine. You want to go drink a coffee every month? That's cool. Okay, but do you need it? If you say yes, then there's a problem.
mm.
And most people don't understand that they have a problem until somebody challenges that, or until somebody tries to take it away. And they're like, they
Yeah.
fight over it. And they're like, wait, why am I fighting over this? Why am I not just letting it go? You know? So caffeine is, oh man, oh man. That coffee video that I put out has now over like 1.2 million views
Yeah, I
on
saw that.
TikTok.
It's yeah.
And it has thousands upon thousands of people commenting, very angry, very defensive. A lot of people threatening. A lot of people joke about me saying that caffeine is going to kill you quicker. A lot of people joke that, oh, I'm gonna keep drinking more if it does that. And it's like, so you see in the comments alone, like, okay, you people are addicted. If I'm saying it's bad, go without it for a certain period of time, and you are fighting me,
Yeah.
then okay, that's the real problem.
I mean, it's like people say they've got a shift at work and they go, oh, I've got a shift at work. I need to get myself a coffee. I need to get myself a coffee. Do you need to get yourself a coffee? That's the question.
Yeah.
Do you need to? Yeah. It's a whole
It's
different
sad.
well of trouble.
It's a drug. It's a drug. People don't
It's a
understand
stimulant.
that. It's a stimulant, and anything, I don't care if it's porn, I don't care what it is. If it is if it's stimulating you, it runs the chance of dependency. We don't understand that. So we keep getting stimulated until the point where the body becomes dependent on it. And so when we keep doing it, we don't understand that, yeah, maybe we went in with the intentions of just enjoying ourselves, just having fun, but we didn't go in with awareness.
Yeah.
We didn't go in knowing that, okay, this is not good for me. So, if I'm doing it, let me doing it every once in a while, let me just be aware of it. We didn't go in with awareness. So now we become dependent on that stimulation. And getting people to understand that part is, I'm not here to, I'm not a cult leader. I'm not here to tell you to change your diet. I'm not here anything like that. I'm here to tell you, this is what this does to the body. This is what this does to the body. You choose wisely. We aren't choosing wisely. We are choosing from addiction. We are choosing from, maybe we're manipulated by our family, culture, tradition, whatever. That's how we're moving. I want to bring the choice back to people. You choose wisely. Do you really think that's good for you? And then you do it. That's my whole thing, is getting people, because we are moving without awareness in this entire world. If you see it, we are moving without awareness. Everything that we do, we're just doing it because they said so. We're doing it because our friends said so, our family, our religion, whatever.
Which is another
instead of
interesting
from
point.
conscious choice.
Yeah, which is another interesting point, because if you think about, most people these days aren't religious. To most people, unless we're talking about Muslims, people like that. But I mean, like, Western society isn't too religious, but
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But in a sense, it is, because if you're religious, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, anything, the people that aren't religious will almost heckle you. They'll be like, oh, they believe something. How can you just believe something? But that's what you're doing. That's what everyone does. Everyone does that. Everyone. I mean, I still do it. Like, I get told something by the doctors, I don't question it. I'm like, okay, well, that is true. That is what I need to do, and I'll do that. And it's really weird how, like, now you've brought it to attention. It's really weird now I think about it. The people will heckle, say, like you said, the Bible. It's like the Bible. People will heckle the Bible, but they follow things that people tell them as if it's the Bible.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
Exactly.
Because of labels, because of the backup that they have. Maybe they have the World Health Organization behind them, or they have the president behind them, or whatever it may be. Like I said, I just want people to move from awareness. Do you think that actually, does that feel right with you? Does that resonate with you? If it does, by all means, you go do it. But if it doesn't, if there's that one there's that one part that's saying, I don't know, maybe questioning it, maybe hesitant, that's what people need to listen to. That hesitation, that voice in the back of the head. Should you really be doing this? That's the person that you need to listen to. But so many of us have suppressed that, because we're such surface level. He tells me, yes. He tells me, yes. We don't go deep in here. We become such surface level people. And so again, my whole thing is trying to get us to go a little bit deeper. Listen to that voice in your head, because that's who you really are. That angel on your shoulder, that's who you really are. The devil on the shoulder is what we see. This right here in between the, temples. That brain, that ego is where this comes from, the ego. And so that angel on your shoulder is who you really are up here, the one controlling this. I love to make that analogy. It's like, this is us controlling this, living this physical experience.
Mm.
You know, a lot of people completely suppress themselves, run off of this, which is really just a computer that runs off of repetition. If I tell you you're ugly so many times, you're going to start to believe it. If I tell you you're pretty, you're going to start to believe that. That's all it is. It's just a computer. And so we let society program it and never question it. It's a trip.
Yeah. I mean, I saw when you said that's the beginning of your like your concepts, your beliefs, right? I've seen a lot of things about plants as well, like plants, the way they communicate, and obviously you have that side of things as well, because that's your side of things, the healing side, and then you have the side of nature. You have your beliefs on nature.
Yeah. I have my really, it's just, we are nature. You know, we are nature. We come from this earth. You step on the ground, you feel nature. You feel the electricity. Anybody does any grounding work, step outside barefoot, breathe for 5 minutes, you're gonna feel electrified. You're gonna feel less tense. So with that route, when I started going more towards understanding, you know, so Dr. Sebi, there's a couple of mentors that I've had in my life. And they've all taught me different things. So for Dr. Sebi, he was the start of it all, introduced me to the world of natural and healing. There's a man that goes by the name of Honorable Priest Kailash. I think he's actually very popular in the UK, but he's a Rastafari in St. Lucia. And he talks about the spiritual connection to the herbs and understanding the spirit of the herbs, and that there are people just like us. There are beings just like us. They want to live. They want to, you see a tree, it's dancing. It wants to have fun just like us, you know? So he made me understood the spiritual connection to the herbs, that they have a spirit as well. We talk to them. If you talk to them, it's going to become more potent. Take care of them, handle them a certain way. And with him, I dove deep into that. I started wanting to connect with everything around me, not just people, the trees, the animals, you know, the plants I was consuming. And I wanted to understand more about their role and connecting with them. So I would go out into nature all the time. What really sparked that change was when COVID happened. We were forced to move to my parents' house, and they live on a mountain in the like almost the middle of nowhere, near
Amazing.
San Diego. It's beautiful, and it was on native land. So native land, I don't know if you know native land over here in the US, but it's very well kept. I mean, it's just abundant of wildlife and plants. And so that mountain that we were on had, and I get goosebumps just talking about it, but that mountain that we were on had a very, very, very strong energy. Very, very strong energy. You would go outside and you would just feel everything. You can hear everything. You just feel good. You have goosebumps. You just feel electrified. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it other than that. Lack of 4 words. I'm sorry, but I would go out and meditate every single day. Meditate on a rock. Meditate near a tree, just to try to connect myself. And there were many times where I literally felt connected to the point where I don't feel my body anymore. I don't feel the separation between body and earth. And a lot of us do. And when I started to meditate and feel that, I understood the connection. I felt almost like just a floating orb of consciousness. Like I didn't feel like a separate entity from the earth. So I understood the healing properties from those meditations, because every time I would leave a meditation, I would feel better and better and better, mentally, emotionally, everything. There was a smile on my face that you cannot knock off. And the more I did those meditations, and the more I talked to the plants that I grew, and the more I talked to the animals around me, the happier I got. And I was like, wow, why am I so happy? I'm I'm that weirdo that talks to the plants and stuff. Like, how am I so
Mm.
happy? You know? And so I started to realize the connection we all had by just talking and, you know, going against what we think is weird, going against what uh modern society thinks is weird, you know? It's like, okay, why do we heckle somebody who hugs a tree so much? Why?
Yeah, it's true.
You know, why do we heckle the people that talk to the land, that walk barefoot, you know, that smell everything, that touch everything? Why? And I started to understand that really everything that this modern westernized society um, ruled as weird or things like that, I started to realize, okay, maybe that's actually what we're supposed to be
Yeah.
doing. You know, and I'm like, all right, guys, eat all fruits and take herbs and talk to this and talk to that. Everybody's like, what the fuck? It's like, okay, I think that's actually what we're supposed to be doing. We've been programmed otherwise. And I started to go deeper into native history, the indigenous, and how they treated the land. What did they do with the land? Exactly that. They meditated. They walked barefoot. They ate. They tasted. They talked. And I started to go back to what our ancestors were doing, because we're living in a fucked up world right now. I don't think we can really argue that. So in my head, I'm like, okay, was it always like this? No. Common sense would tell me, all right, what did they do before colonization? What did they do before they were chopping down and killing everybody? Oh, we were living in peace. Well, I want to do that. What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know? Excuse
So
my
is that
language, bro.
is that what they were doing back then? You say indigenous. That's a time where the world was a better place back then.
100%.
What
110%.
what would their diets have been back then?
You know, that's an interesting question, because a lot of people have this misconception that, I remember this video came out where this man was he was joking about life today versus life back then, and he would go on TikTok and play the trees and like laugh and joke with the trees, you know, have his little face on there and relax on the beach and laugh with the water, and he has his little face on the water joking with him. And this one comment stood out to me, and she was like, wait, native people had beach days where they just hung out at the beach? And in my head, I'm like, what do you think we were doing? Do you think we were just fighting and starving for food and just hopeless and helpless, you know, having to survive against all the animals? And it really made me think about, okay, what were we doing? Because that video really resonated with me. I was like, I understand that, because when I look around now, it is not a good place to be in. So I was like, what did we do? And so I spoke with elders, read books, and connected with nature myself. And I felt how natural it was to me to be in harmony with everything, not to swat against that bee, but to be coexisting with it. So all of that just felt so natural to me, coexisting. I'm like, that's what we did. We fucking coexisted. Simple as that. We didn't go around chopping everything down for senselessly. We didn't go around killing everything just because they were pests. We coexisted. So in coexistence, you have happiness on both sides. Right now, we don't have happiness. We have one side is happy, the other side is not. And that's how colonization works. I'm here, you're there. I'm happy, you're not. I'm rich, you're poor. We have these concepts of somebody has to be on top of the other, this hierarchy, when in reality, everything was in balance. Everything was on one plane. When people tell me, I tell people this: we all stand on one earth. We all stand on the earth. Nobody is above me. Nobody is below me. Not no animal, not no plant. Okay. No matter how smart you think you are, you can't fly. You can't survive underwater. So they're smarter than you. And that, you know what I'm saying? Animals can dig underground and know where something is underground. We have to destroy everything to find out. You know, so we all have our own levels of awareness. We all have our own levels of genius. And it's understanding that and accepting that. See, the colonized mind cannot accept that. One has to be smarter. One has to be better than the other. Instead of, we all have our own strengths. You play towards yours. I'll play towards mine. we're both happy. We can help each other out.
I was going to
And
bring
so
this up,
when I,
to be
huh?
honest. I was going to bring this up, to be honest. The hierarchy of humans towards different animals and plants, because there does seem to be a scientific hierarchy. I was going to bring this up. You brought it to it
Yeah.
naturally. It is. I was going to bring this
Yeah,
up.
it's something that's where colonization means. And when I say colonization, for your followers, I want to really get this across their minds. Colonization is not just so-called white people coming over and killing whatever or destroying the land or whatever. Colonization is a mindset. Okay, it's almost like a virus. It is a poisonous mindset of hierarchies, of, I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you. I don't care what race, whatever you are, because we all have there's black people that oppress black people, brown people that oppress brown people. What's the common thing with all of them? It's the mindset. So the colonized mindset likes to play hierarchy, likes to play, I'm top tier, you're low tier. There has to be some type of the ego. It's an ego dominated mindset. Okay. And when we talk about ego, we're talking about, I'm better, I'm this, I'm that, those snarky people, like, that's where that comes from, the colonized mindset. So when colonization happened, when that whole action happened, when they were trying to, take over the lands or whatever, and they spread their ideologies, that's when things started going downhill, because everybody started to think like them. So then people went and started oppressing their own people. People went and started destroying their own lands and things like that. But that's where it was birthed from. All that hierarchy stuff, kings, queens, that doesn't exist. You still shit the same, eat the same, breathe the same, and die the same. So I try to bring people off of that colonized thinking to help us understand that we are all the exact same. Animal, plant alike. We're all the same. We all come from source. We all come from energy, Allah, God, whatever somebody wants to label it. We all come from the same thing, so we're all capable of the same things.
See,
simple as that.
The Aboriginal time was obviously the world was a better place, but like I asked before, like about their diets. Did they include? Were they mostly meat and fruit and veg? No meat.
That's an interesting question. It's one I think of a lot, because what we know, some people would be like, "Oh, my ancestors ate a lot of meat," but what they know of their ancestors is post-colonized living. So was that eating meat a survival thing? Or was that eating meat really a part of their daily lives? We don't know. So, 400 years ago, around the 1600s, that's when the European came over here and started deforesting the land. They deforested ancient forests. I mean, I'm talking thousands and thousands of year old trees, bushes, fruit trees, probably. I think so. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the destroying of fruit trees and things like that. We talk about how they killed all the bison to starve them out. What else were they eating? Why wouldn't they destroy everything else? So what we know of as far as diet, is it actually true, or was that the survival thing? So for me, the way I look at it was in the Amazon, our ancestors in the Amazon is essentially a big garden where every generation planted trees galore everywhere they could. They made sure that agriculture was okay, the ecosystem was okay, but they planted as many food trees as they could. Common sense to me would say, okay, why wouldn't we do that? Everywhere you see soil, you can plant a fruit tree.
Yeah.
And if you're planting a fruit tree every 5-10 feet all over the entire country, we can all eat. So in my head, I'm like, okay, why wouldn't our ancestors be smart enough to do that instead of going and hunting and relying on their hunting skills to killing an animal that didn't want to be killed in the first place? Why wouldn't we just plant our food everywhere? And so that's what I think about whenever I think of the ancestors. I'm like, okay, I know we talk about their hunting skills and meat eating and things like that, but for me, I'm like, hunting is a learned skill. Not everybody can be a hunter. It takes years for that. Okay. It takes somebody teaching you for that. Okay. So gardening, that's a learned skill. I know because my entire first year, I killed everything. So when God made me, energy made me, was I not going to eat because I didn't know how to hunt or garden? How was I going to eat?
Mm.
So common sense would tell me, the food had already had to be there.
That makes sense. That does make sense.
Every other species is there.
Mm.
Every other species in this world other than humans has food right there in their environment because that's how it's supposed to be done. If you're making a game and you're putting a species right here, you better put their food around the species or they're going to die. It's common sense. So whenever I started to think about, okay, what were we eating? We weren't hunters. That had to be learned. We weren't growers. That had to be learned too. So there had to be food here. And what was our food? Fruits, berries, melons, weird looking things growing off of a tree and bushes. You know, maybe nuts and stuff like that. Cool. But it had to be from nature, already grown for us. So whenever I talk about what our diet was beforehand, that's the level of thinking that I'm thinking of. You know, most people are like, they just see the history and they say that's what we were doing. And in my opinion, I'm like, how much of that was forced?
It is really interesting.
Same with the monkeys and stuff.
Yeah, it's really interesting how people don't think about it that way though, because most people in modern society, if you bring up something about other animals or the earth, it's like we are a whole different thing and they are a whole different thing. Nature and people. Like we do what we want with nature. If we want to build some housing estate, we'll get rid of this bit of nature. It's like, see, obviously I'm not educated in this myself, but when you bring things up, it's bringing up interesting points in my head, like how people do see that split. It is a huge split. People don't see when you're talking about how we must have had a source of food when we first, were created, however it was. And people don't seem to understand that. I mean, I bet there's a lot of people you could say that to, and they'd be like, what do you mean? Where would we get food? Like, it's obvious where we get food. Well, tell me where you get food then, if it's obvious. Fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
It makes sense. It's already grown for us. If not, our species would have just died off a long time ago, learning how to hunt and shit. We're not capable of being proficient hunters at a young age. So that means somebody had to have taught us to be a hunter. I look at my son. I learned a lot from my son. He's a toddler. So everything that he knows, because he's not tainted by society, everything that he does is the most natural. That's how I looked at it. So when I would observe him, and we were living on that mountain, it was the best thing we could do. When I would observe him, he would go to the bright colored things, pick it, smell it, or eat it. Even though some of it may not have been edible, that was his natural reaction. Ooh, colorful. Let me see. Not, oh, look at that bird. Let me try to go hunt it and kill it.
Yeah.
That's something that was learned. So when I would observe him and he would take care of the animals, oh, so sweet. Oh, look at this chicken. Oh, look at this, that, and not, oh, let me eat it. That's when I started to realize, okay, what was our natural? I started to question, what is our natural instincts? And if you put a baby and you put fruits, you put a fruit tree, and then you put a cow next to the fruit tree, you say, go eat. What is it going to do? It's not going to start gnawing on the cow. So our natural instinct would be to go to brightly colored things, whatever is on the plants itself. Go to the earth, basically. And feed off of the earth, because Mama Earth feeds us. Just like our mama feed us through the breast, Mama Earth feeds us through what she grows.
See, obviously animals on the, the food chain, this is like lions that do have the instinct to hunt. They have the weapons ready-made to hunt. So you can see that there is naturally made predators. But when we say naturally made predators, it's lions have the jaw to bite an animal. They have the instinct to hunt an animal. They have the stealth. They are naturally built with the methods to kill animals. Same as, gorillas don't eat meat, and that's why they're big and strong. But that's not to eat anything. You can't eat something being big and strong. You know, you need the jaw. Their jaws like sharks. Sharks have those layers and layers of teeth. We aren't born with weapons. We aren't born with anything to kill.
Yeah,
It is
that's
a
why
good
it's such a
point.
learned skill.
Yeah.
And so I just like to go to the original. I like to go back to the day one. Let's look at
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
one. We were definitely not no hunters. And when I really started to understand that, when I started to understand that every species has their food source, no lion is going hungry, no gorilla is going hungry, unless it's man-made, you know, something man did, but they're not going hungry. Why are we going hungry? By the millions. Where is our fucking food, guys? It's not cooking. Cooking is a learned thing. You can't, you know what I'm saying? So everything that we think is normal was all learned. So on my thing, I was like, okay, let's reverse that. Let's unlearn it. What do we know now? Okay. We were built for climbing, grabbing, obviously, right? We were built for grabbing things. So the fruit was the only thing that really popped up into my mind was fruit, berries, melons, things like that off of the trees and the bushes. But yeah, we're not natural hunters, guys. We're not natural hunters. We're really not. That's why we have to make tools in order to do it. Now in a survival instinct, in a survival situation, that's awesome. You have the tools to survive. But why are we living with survival instincts? Why are we not thriving? That's my question. Cooking our food, putting fire to food. Everybody will agree. We had to learn that to survive. That was a survival thing. Okay. Why are we still doing it? Why are we still in survival mode? Why are we not in thriving mode? We have a community of people, of billions of people. Why can't we come together and not just be in a survival instinct? Let's thrive. Let's put our minds together. You know what I mean? You know, challenging these mindsets really drives some people crazy.
Yeah,
it really does.
I bet. I mean, it is. Some people would argue that I've heard this myself. The human was born with the intellect to do these things. So that is their, you know, like the lion has their jaw, the shark has their jaw, the apes have their strength, the human has their mind. That's what some people would say.
Most definitely. We are the gods on the earth.
So this is playing devil's advocate here, right? So
Please.
obviously, if the humans were born to use their mind, could using that mind to make these things be thriving?
All right, repeat that. Sorry.
So, like I said, the shark has their jaw, the lion has their jaw, the apes have their strength, and people say we have our brain. We have our brain to match them. We have the brain to match the strength, to match the jaw. Could us making our tools, using our brain to make the tools, be as thriving? Because that is our born bonus, our born perk is our brain.
I love that question. So to have the intellect, we have the intellect. I feel like we are the gods on the earth.
Definitely.
So we are the gardeners of the earth, essentially. We can, like you said, we want to develop something, we completely destroy the earth and make it how we want it to develop this building.
Yeah.
So we have the intellect for that. Why wouldn't we use our intellect towards something that's sustainable? Because obviously we know that killing animals is not sustainable. So right? At this very moment, it's not sustainable. So if we have the intellect would be, for me, if this was thousands and thousands of years ago, I would think, okay, how can we have food for everybody and make it last? Let's not have to struggle to go find a hunt every single day. Let's make food last, okay, for everybody. And we have that intellect to do that. And that's what I think we, just like the Amazon, like I bring up the Amazon a lot. They had the intellect to say, all right, guys, we have a shit ton of soil around us. Let's start planting so that a couple years from now, we don't have to worry about nothing. So I do believe we have the intellect to create and destroy anything we want, to shape this earth however humans want it. So I believe that we used it like that. We understood that we were the gardeners, that we were the two-legged people that are able to do anything on here. So I believe that everything was like that. That's why we had so much ancient forest and growth, ancient growth. And that's why colonization chopped it all down. You know, because it's gonna say, oh wait, you're not gonna be sustainable on, you're gonna be sustainable on my terms. It's my terms. That's where colonization came in. It's like, you're not just gonna live however you want, you're gonna live how I want. That's where the ego came in. But to use our intellect to hunt animals seems like a very low vibrational thing, when naturally we are plant
Can
people.
you, for people that would watch this, can you explain what that means? Low vibrational thing.
Okay. Killing. Would you think killing is a high vibration or low vibration? When I say that, I say happiness is a high vibration thing. Okay, what would be the opposite of that? Sadness. Does killing go with sadness or happiness?
Yeah, definitely sadness, of course.
Maybe a little happiness for us, but what about for the being?
I'm guessing a vibration is universal. So whether it doesn't matter if we're the happy ones, it isn't our vibration, it is a universal vibration. So ending a life, obviously.
They were scared shitless. They're running away crying. If you ever look at these these nature things, and these lions are chasing it, they are scared shitless. They are doing everything they can to live. They don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. Right? So killing, would you, there's only two sides to life. So there's a 50-50 chance that you get this question right? Killing, is it a high vibrational thing or a low vibrational thing? If happiness is a high vibrational thing and sadness is a low vibrational thing, or hate or fear, whatever, which one would you rank killing? I think that's a pretty low vibration, me personally. Planting a seed, I think that would be a high vibrational thing. Why? Because I'm eating, the earth is eating, you know, the ground, all the microorganisms on the ground, the birds are going to eat, everybody's going to eat. So it's thinking about everybody else, not just ourselves. So when I plant, it's thinking about everybody. When I kill, it's thinking about me. Survival. And I understand that. That's why it was a survival thing. You have to think about yourself. I get that. But we're at a point in our lives where we don't have to just worry about humans. You see what is happening when we think like that. We're chopping down trees like it's no tomorrow. We're killing animals to extinction because we're worrying about us. This is going to be a nice coat. This is going to be a nice house. This is going to be a nice piece of furniture. Instead of thinking, oh, okay, the birds eat from there. Let's not really destroy it like that, you know? We're not thinking like that. We're not thinking like a collective. It's very ego oriented. So it's very self. I'm going to do what's best for me. Humans are thinking like that. And that's a very low vibrational thinking. Okay.
See, it is a really good point that you made. Like when I brought up what was it? People thriving possibly by using their brains, right? That point that I made is a really good point that you make, where you're saying it might be good temporarily, right? We might get our meat and it tastes nice, good, but that won't last forever. So how is it thriving? It's not thriving. Do you know the definition of thriving? Because I don't. But
I really the proper definition. No, I don't.
we can take an honest guess. It's doing our optimal. We're doing our absolute optimal, and you can't be doing your optimal if it slowly falls off. That's not optimal. Optimal is it's gone up and it stays going up, right? So it is a really good point. If it's not sustainable, eating all of the animals, breeding the animals in small cages where they're terrified, as you said, low vibrations, like it's not sustainable.
Just like working out. Like, are you going to burn yourself out in this day, or are you going to burn yourself out in this quarter, or are you going to keep your energy sustained so that you can play the entire game.
Exactly.
And that's why we're not thinking. We're thinking, all right, we're going to do everything we can. Boom, burnout, crash. So we have these boom, 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 crash, 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 up, crash, you know, instead of let's play the long game so that everybody's happy and we don't have to worry about the crashes every time. And that's why in colonial society, we have peaks and then heavy crashes every single time. Your economy, the housing market, wars, you name it. There's always a bump, 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 bump. There's never a sustainable, happy medium or even along that. It's literally up and then straight down every time. And all of the colonized history. And so when we see that, I still don't understand why people don't see that it's not sustainable. The way that we're living, it's not sustainable. We are seeing a crash coming. The experts, the scientists, by this day, there's the point of no return for global warming. You know, we've been deforested so many trees. We've killed so many animals that at this point, it's going to crash and burn. We don't see that. I don't understand why. I mean, I kind of do, but then I don't. You know, it's like
another thing. Back to when you were saying, obviously we didn't learn. We had to learn cooking, had to learn hunting, had to learn gardening. That had to learn cooking bit. It reminds me of a post you posted. I think it was today about protein, the gorilla. That I watched another video you put up because I was really interested on that guy talking about enzymes. Now, the enzymes and protein. So that would make sense because if we learn to hunt, right? If we obviously we had to have that source of food that we don't know. If we then had to learn to hunt, we can't learn to hunt if we aren't energetic, if we aren't strong. And people say, how do you get strong if you don't have protein? So that must have been a source of what we call protein, what we call, you know, what builds your muscle. And that links to that video you posted, which was really interesting about the enzymes and the amino acids of uncooked fruits and uncooked veg. They provide you with, they skip the middleman protein and they provide you with the amino acids which build your muscle. Which is something, it just came to my head, is without our protein, we wouldn't be able to hunt.
Isn't that
how
funny?
Do we get that? Yeah.
to our level of thinking, without the protein, we would have just been walking around like this all day, like fuck. I have no energy all day. You know, that's how our ancestors just until they learned how to hunt. Yeah, I'm happy. That's not
Skin
how it
and
works.
bone. Yeah.
It's not how it worked. If you look at and it's funny because we separate ourselves, but if we just look at every single species and learn from them, we could be very happy individuals. We can be very happy as humans. So nobody else cooks. Not one other species in this entire world cooks their food. We think we're better and bigger, yet we're the only ones suffering from diseases. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, guys, if we just got off of our fucking little ego trip, returned back to nature and learned from our friends, the owl, the deer, all that, then we would understand how to eat, what to eat. Okay, that's how a lot of the indigenous learned what was edible or not. They would see a deer and then they would see how the deer was reacting. So they would eat a specific branch or leaf and then they would have energy. They would go eat that branch or leaf for energy. They got a tummy ache, they're going to stay away from that. It's very that simple. But we're so complicated in our thinking and our ways of living. We live in a complicated society. Everything is complicated as shit. I like to return back to the simple. You know, they eat it, I'm going to eat it because they feel good. They eat it, they don't feel good, I'm not going to eat that. You know, go and give a fucking cheeseburger to a wild animal. They're not going to take it, or they're going to feel like shit or go crazy. Why the hell would I eat it if that guy is reacting like that? You see what I'm saying? Or like a monkey. Go give a monkey meat. The monkeys that eat meat, and I don't believe it's natural, my personal opinion, but chimpanzees, they eat a small amount of meat. Guess what? Chimpanzees are the most, and I looked this up, they are the most aggressive primates out of all of them, by far. Okay. So you look at them eating meat, and they're the most aggressive species. You look at us eating meat, which I don't think we're supposed to, and we're the most fucking aggressive species. Do you see the connection here? Look at the herbivores. They are chilling. They are peaceful. You look at a deer, they're peace. Look at your carnivores. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants to hang around a lion other than other lions. You see, like in Africa, when you see these videos of the big lake and all the animals coming to the big lake, once the alligator comes, once the lion and the puma and all them come, everybody's like, all right, bye. I don't want to be right here because they're crazy. So if we just looked at that, what is the lion eating? Oh, he's eating the meat. He's eating the other animals. Yeah, nobody's going to like him. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's just going back to the simplicity of it. That type of simplicity. It doesn't have to be, let me go on these studies and let me go on this and that. It's quite simple as observe and learn. You know, but we go far from that. I try to go towards that, you know, simple, observe and learn. Go eat that, see how you feel right at that moment. Okay, go eat that fruit, see how you feel right at that moment. Which one do you like? Definitely, okay, the cheeseburger, you may like it a little bit more emotionally because of memories, because of whatever. But physically, how do you feel? Do you want to go run a mile after you eat a fucking cheeseburger? No. Eat a piece of fruit. Do you feel energized? Yeah. All right. Which one's for you? You know, but again, we have gone so far from just awareness and moving with awareness. Most people walk throughout their day and don't even realize the pains in their body and the aches in their body because they're just so used to it. So we're moving without awareness. So that's why it's so hard to go back to what's natural, because awareness is what's natural.
It's so, like, all these misconceptions, it's kind of mind-blowing, because obviously not everyone that watches this will go, of course, but there'll be that odd person that will watch it and they will go, wait, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, and that's what we need. We need these things, because when someone sees this video and then they click on your account, they see more videos, or maybe they just see this video and they have one thing and they go, is that true? And they look it up and then they're like, oh, and it sparks a rabbit hole. And obviously a rabbit hole in this topic is a good thing.
Yeah, most definitely. It's all about what resonates with you. What feels true to you. You know, even if you've been taught something and I say something that sparks something like, if you're questioning it, go after it. If you're questioning it, keep going. Go deeper. Go deeper. As soon as you question something, because that is your true self. That is your true self wanting answers, wanting truth. And so whatever resonates with people, you know, when I speak, it's, yeah, like you said, it's not going to be, wow, I just learned everything and everything's implemented. Wow, thank you so much. I'm going to move like that. It's more so like, yeah, you made me question this. I kind of want to keep asking about that. Like you with the herbs. You're like, oh, what about this one? What does that do? Oh, what is that? And then it just goes deeper and deeper. And that's my whole thing. That's my whole thing with educating. And that's why I don't mind taking so much flack and so much hate and stuff like that, because I'm not really here for that. I'm here to spark and plant seeds. I want to plant seeds so that people can water their own seed and it grow. You know, that's my whole thing.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter if only 1,000 people actually listen, right? Even if it's less than that. Because if you think about it, there's 1 in 1,000 people, and then that 1 in that 1,000 will begin talking. And that 1 in that 1,000 will make another 1 in 1,000 do the same thing. And it will go on and on and on. And obviously, the more people get into it, 1 in 1,000, it adds to that number, and it will continuously add to that number until we finally, at some point, hopefully get that collective mindset where everyone does agree on said thing. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and that's my whole goal, is planting seeds so that you can learn yourself, experience it yourself, because I'm all about self-experience. Do not just take my word for it. Go and experience it yourself. Don't just listen to me talk about fruits being highly energetic and giving you energy. Go eat the fucking fruit, see how you feel. Boom. So then you learn for yourself, and that that starts really growing the seed. Me, I just throw the seeds out there. Whoever is going to catch it, whoever it resonates with, it's naturally going to go into them. And then from there, but yeah, that's my whole thing, man, is just planting seeds. Like I said, I'm not a cult leader. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just bringing out my ideas and what I believe is truth and what resonated with me to see if it resonates with you, you know?
So what do you think? Because I'm sure you've had a lot of people, you spoke to a lot of people about this, you've had a lot of questions. What do you think the main sort of misconceptions, obviously from what you believe, the main sort of misconceptions that people have about these topics? Because I know you've posted about poisonous plants and you've posted about these sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, about plants specifically, is that plants are poison. And the indigenous believe this as well, that no plant is poison. Mother Earth is not gonna bring up something just to destroy us. All right. That's again, that's the colonized thinking, to go back to that. Everybody's against us. Everybody's that, oh, fear, right? Instead of coexisting. There are no plants that are out to get you. There are no plants that are going to poison you. Now, that's if you learn how to handle it with care. There are some plants you don't need to be touching. Their spirit don't want to be touched, right? And then we go and touch it and we have an adverse reaction, and then we call that plant a poison plant. It's like, you could have just not touched them, you know? So for me, the poisonous plants is like one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to like the topic of plants, is that there is a belief that there are plants out there that are poison to us, when in reality, there are plants that either don't want to be touched, or that you have to handle a certain way, or you have to pick at a certain time of the year, or that you have to pick a specific part of the plant, specific ripeness, all this type of stuff. I don't believe plants are poisonous. You just have to learn. You have to learn either to when to touch it, how to touch it, etc. Biggest misconception when it comes to, let's say, like diet, that is that we need an excessive amount of protein, and that protein gives us energy. When in reality, it's that fake energy that I talk about with caffeine. It's that illusion of energy. It's energy for the now, but not sustainable. Okay. And again, it goes back to the sustainable versus the now. We have that now thinking. What am I going to do right now that's going to get me that boost? I don't care if I go down right after. I just want that boost right now. So the biggest misconception with the diet is the protein. We cannot use protein like that. Our bodies can only use amino acids. That is why our bodies must break down proteins in the first place. So if you're giving something a really hard medium, a really hard protein, long protein chain, or a long amino acid chain, which the longer it is, the harder the substance is, right? So if you're giving something like a meat, which is just extremely dense, you can't break down meat in your mouth. Keep chewing it. Chew. It's not just going to go into mush and then go away like this mango. It's going to still have pretty solid pieces. So our bodies are not meant to break down big proteins. So whenever you have that protein, whenever you have that excess amount of protein, it's not going to be eliminated right away. It's going to take some work to be eliminated. But when we're eating it 3 times a day, every single day for 20, 30 years, you just imagine how much unlimited protein. And that's where you get your abnormal growths. You get your cysts, your tumors, your fibroids, etc. And that damages the kidneys, because the kidneys are responsible for removing all that. So that's why we have so much kidney. That's why one of the most common things in sports, in weightlifting, whatever it is that low back, or that back stiffness. Oh, I feel stiff today. Oh, my lower back pain, especially the heavy weightlifters. They're stiff as a board. Why? Because their kidneys are responsible for maintaining that water balance. We're majority water. So our kidneys are responsible for maintaining that water balance, right? When the kidneys are weakened, it is not releasing the acids that are in that water. right? Because we're majority water. So all the mucus, the acids, the toxins, whatever you want to call it, that is supposed to be eliminated with that water, that's staying inside of you. And the longer that acid stays inside of you, the longer it's going to dry you up. The more it dries you up, the stiffer you're going to be, the more dehydrated you're going to be. Okay, the drier you're going to be. People get the really dry skin and all that. And that's because all that protein is not going anywhere. It damaged your kidneys. Your kidneys aren't working properly anymore. It's like, holy shit, I can't eliminate this much waste all at once. So the body starts sending it to other parts of the body. All right, store yourself here, store yourself here. All right, and that's where we get little tumors, little cysts, swollen lymph nodes everywhere, because the body's just storing it different places. You can't just stay in the kidneys the entire time. So the biggest misconception is that protein lie, that we need all the protein in the world, protein, when in reality, when we look at I like to look at the composition of mother's milk. What are the percentages of mother's milk? That is exactly what humans need. That's not an arguable fact. The mother is not going to make something that the baby does not need, right? It's going to make it to a T. So when we look at the mother's milk, it's a majority carbs. The second, fats. Third, proteins. Fourth, nutrients, minerals. It's about 0.2% for the minerals, 0.07 or 0.7% for the protein, around like 3 or 4% for the fats, and around 7 or 8% for the carbs. If you look at our diets, they're completely opposite. No carb diets, low fat, only protein, minerals, supplement. Like it's literally flipped. And we wonder why we're wondering why we're not living properly, why we're not living in harmony, why so many people are suffering. We're doing the exact opposite of what we should be doing. So, man, there's so many misconceptions when it comes to the diet. I mean, sugar, the fact that people are scared of sugar when your cells literally use sugar as fuel. That is quite literally the gasoline to their car. So the cells need sugar. What sugar do they need? They don't need fucking Snickers sugar, you know? So what sugar is it? Simple sugars. Well, Joseph, what is simple sugars out in nature? How do I find simple sugars? Mother's milk is a simple sugar. Galactose. Fruits, simple sugars, fructose. And then greens, simple sugar, glucose. And then you have your honey, your agave, you know, and things like that, the plant sugars, right? These are the three main ones. We are suppressing these two and trying to go towards complex sugars. So it's just like the protein lie. We need protein, which are very complex structures. Amino acids, which are the simple. Our bodies only work off the simple. So the sugars, there's simple and complex. Simple being those three that I named. Everything else, complex. Your Snickers, your rice, your pasta, your flour, everything else in the world, complex. Okay? So we are having a diet that is majority complex, and we are suppressing the simple. And that's why we live a complex life. We aren't living a simple life anymore. Things are not simple like they used to be. You know, back in the days, things were a lot simpler back in the days. You know, old people say that. We aren't living a simple life because we're not consuming anything simple, not through our eyes, ears, or food.
Overcomplicating the body. Yeah.
Everything is complicated. You have to have a degree to do this. You have to, you know, everything is complicated. Your rice, that's very complicated. The body now has to work in order to break it down. He's like, fuck, man, I can't even use it. I have to now do this, and this in order to even get it to a simple sugar. And that's how we're living. And people think we have these perfect bodies. And the body is a genius. The body is amazing, but we work against it every single day of our lives. So we have a lot of the doctors will come to me like, psych, the liver takes care of that. The kidneys take care of that. The stomach takes care of that. Well, what happens when the body's fucking tired because we beat it up all these years? It's not just going to take care of it. It's tired. It can't do it anymore. Its function is lost. That's why you have kidney failure, liver failure, heart failure, all these types of failures. Because now the body is tired. We don't give it a rest. We eat all fucking day, barely get any sleep, stressed throughout the day. We're not hydrated. So you're not even giving your body the environment or the fuel or the tools in order to sustain that perfect complex that we think it is. But we think we can just beat up the body, abuse the body, and it's still going to work how it's supposed to work. It don't work like that.
And that links
It
to
does
the
not work like
thriving.
that.
That links to the thriving, the optimal. It won't be an optimal.
Exactly. How we're eating is not sustainable. How we're drinking, what we're thinking, everything is just, it's not sustainable. Instead of it just being a little wavy, but it's still going, right? And so when I talk about how to eat, it's in a sustainable way. It's giving your body rest. That's why I say before 12, only fruits. Your body is still waking up. You don't want to give it cooked food. After 6, fruits or veggies. You don't want to give it a fat ass piece of steak, because then you're making your body digest while you're supposed to be sleeping and regenerating. That's not sustainable. When is it ever going to rest? So when you eat, when people eat how I recommend them to eat, I hate to say like a specific diet, but when people eat how I recommend them to eat, it's so that you are sustainable throughout the day. So your body is not crashing and burning. So your body is not overworked. When we put in these, and you look at the American diet, holy fuck, man. Look at the plates. You have your 5 things on the plate, extremely heavy, probably don't even go well together. Your body has to work overtime, triple overtime, in order to even get the nutrients that it needs from that. We have gone, and I'll go out onto this little rant with this. We have this misconception that we eat because we need to feel full. When in reality, we've lost this, where I say, hey guys, what is the whole purpose of eating? What is the actual purpose of eating? We've lost that knowledge. It's to get nutrients for ourselves. It's to feed our cells, not ourselves, but our cells. We've lost that. We think we need to eat for our enjoyment, when in reality, the cells are just waiting back like, when the fuck am I going to get my nutrients, dude? You know what I mean? So we have lost that. We think we need to eat just to feel something in our stomach, or because it's a social thing or whatever is the case. But the whole purpose of eating, our body is literally just a factory. It takes the solid, breaks it down into the little, and then eliminates it. Takes this, breaks it down to this tiny, so that we can use it, and then eliminates what it doesn't use. Simple as that. We've gone so far away from that. So when people are like, oh, do you feel hungry all the time? Or it's like, no, why would I? You're only hungry when your cells need nutrients. You're always hungry because your cells are never getting nutrients. You know what I mean? So I like to break the simple down to people, like, guys, the only reason why you're feeling hungry is because that is your body's response saying, yo, I need some fuel right now to keep going. Now, a lot of people, their parasites and fungal overgrowth and bacterial overgrowth run their entire lives. A lot of people, when they don't eat something, their stomach starts hurting. They get really cranky, all this types of stuff. That's not you running your life anymore. That's the bugs inside of you running your life. When I went on a 7-day fast, how did you feel on your fast? Did you ever feel like, oh,
what? To be honest, maybe at first, but obviously I was having CMOS at the same time, and I felt more energetic than I've ever been. Like I said, with my run, I did a really long run in a quicker time than I've ever done, and that was 100 hours in. Because I know 72 hour mark. That's when real healing starts. Is 72 hours. That's what I've read up on multiple different articles. So obviously in that fast, after 72 hours is a long time for most people. And I felt energetic. I felt fine. The work, maybe the first day it wasn't very nice, but after that I felt better than usual.
Mm-hmm. And you weren't like stomach hurting, like, oh, like how they think you would be going without food for that long. Whoa, how are you not dying right now? How are you not just like stomach hurting on the floor? It's like, my friends, that's not what that's not how it works. If that is happening, you are extremely deprived of nutrients, and or you have a lot of things inside your stomach that wants to talk. It's a lot of bugs inside of you that they're angry now. They want food. They're demanding food out of you. So they're going to make it a very unpleasant experience for you unless you give them what they want. We don't get that, because a lot of doctors say, oh, that's fake. There's no parasites inside of you. Parasitic cleanse, detox, what? That's all pseudoscience, whatever, you know. But if people really felt their bodies, they would see it's not fake at all. You know, they're not running their lives anymore. A lot of the people aren't running their lives. They're all ran by their gut and whatever is living inside them. They're running their lives. They're going to the, I remember my step pops, when I sent him on his first fast, he was doing great. I think it was about 3 days, like a day of just fruit, and then a couple days of fruit and just fruit juices. On I think the 4th or 5th day, he told me that he blacked out and basically woke up in a KFC with a bag in his hand. He did not remember going to the KFC, going into the drive-thru, and ordering all that. He didn't remember it at all. He woke up when he was eating it. And then he said after he was eating it, his stomach started to turn really bad. And then he threw up. He forced himself to throw up. And he threw up a green little ball of algae, it almost looked like. Just nastiness. And he was, at that moment, I realized he wasn't living his life at that moment. It was being ran by something else. And when we realize that the gut, in my opinion, is the first brain, that throws everybody off. What? We all hear about the gut being the second brain. When you realize that the gut is the first brain, because this gut feeds this, not the other way around. So this one is going to tell this one what to do, not the other way around. That's how he was moving. That's when I fully realized that he wasn't moving off of this. That turned off. Now it was like, you know, I'm going to need what I need. And it was KFC at that moment, but he spit it out and never had it again. He was like, holy crap, it was an experience. But I want people to understand that, just even if it's not scientifically correct, just think in your mind that this is your first brain, your gut, because your gut feeds everything else. So everything else is going to live and react how this wants it to. I can make you, Cameron, think however I want you to think, feel however I want you to think, based off how I feed you. I want you to feel motivated. I'm going to bring you a big old fruit platter every single morning. I want you to feel like shit. Oh, I got you. I'll go to Carl's Jr. and McDonald's and all that every single day and poison you that way. So first brain, okay? Second brain. First brain feeds this one, not the other way around. I really want people to understand that, because it'll make them move a little differently. And then you add that to acid gut equals acid mind. Then you really start to understand, like, oh, I need to be a little bit more careful about what I put in my body. Right? When you look at everything you eat, ask yourself, is this on the side of life or death? There's only two sides. Is this on the side of love or fear? Is this on the side of high vibration or low vibration? Good or bad? Ask yourself for everything that you eat. And the fruit, we obviously know it's alive. There's electricity in this. With the burger, is that alive? No, obviously it needed to be killed, it needed to be cooked and all that. Okay. How are you going to feel after eating each one? Alive, dead. Simple. Simple.
Mm.
You know, you eat life, you're gonna feel life, you're gonna think life. Eat death, you're gonna feel death, you're gonna think death. And let me tell you, I was thinking death when I was eating what I was eating growing up. I was very, very angry person. I was actually a boxer. You know, we never actually talked about that. And I know that you're into MMA and things like that.
Yeah.
But I love boxing. Love boxing. And I did boxing for a short stint because I was just such an angry kid that I would fight everybody.
Mm.
I would just fight because there was just so much fighting going on in here. That was the only way I could express it. Suicidal thoughts all throughout childhood. You know, many people go along these, many people are living like this right now, where it's just on the side of death. And I bring this to people's attention. What are you consuming? Because that's what you are. That's what you're becoming.
Mm.
You know, you want to experience the other side of that. You don't want to experience death. Go to the other side, dude. Go to the living fucking foods.
And it makes sense
Simple
as
as that,
well.
man.
It really
Simple as
does.
that.
When you put these analogies out there, they really do make sense. Obviously, you can still question them, and people can still think. Obviously, they've been programmed to think one thing. So you saying this, it is still hard for most people to understand, but it does make sense. That's a good beginning for people who don't know anything. Because no matter who you are, even if you're a scientist that hugely disagrees with this, or you're a absolute meat eater, it does make sense what you're saying. No matter who
Because
you
it's
are.
simple.
Yeah,
Because I keep it simple. It's like it's almost hard to argue. You know,
yeah,
eat life, think life is like, okay, how do I argue against that? You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And then I try to push people to do it themselves. Like you, I try to push you to go on the fast, go drink this, go eat this. You feel it yourself. Don't just take my simple analogies, you know? And then you realize shortly after, like, okay, he was actually kind of onto something. Yeah.
We might have to cut this a little bit short now. We've been on for quite a while, but we can definitely do this again if you're down for some point. At some point, we could just discuss some more things.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's been fun having you on. It's been fun having you on.
Thank you for having me, man. I would love to do this again. This is fun.
Yeah,
This is fun.
it is. I mean, the concepts are so simple for people to understand. I hope people do, or I'm sure people will see a page through this and they can, you know, research themselves. But it's so simple. It's just like